Dave Portnoy.
I was going to say, they kind of screwed up your name.
Close. The guy close.
Guy, your status, they couldn't get your name right.
Yeah, whatever. We're here. Good introduction. Dave Portnoy.
Portney. Shit.
Whatever.
I thought we had the bad accents being from Northeast. I'm from Rhode Island, so.
Yeah, no. Whatever, close enough.
Bad intro. It's all good. So I'm going to give you a little intro. I didn't hear anything, but I'll give you a little intro. Native of Massachusetts.
Yep.
Oh, you got a Massachusetts person out here. Has built an empire as a founder and CEO of Barstool Sports, a philanthropist, sports fan, truth seeker, a huge social media personality, a gambling man who's always willing to bet on himself. He is a brand. Many of them call him El Presidente. I'll get it right. Mr. Dave Portnoy.
There it is. Yeah. Thank you.
So, I got to tell you, when I first heard, my partner had passed away and that it was going to have me interview you. So I started to do some research, and I was in Rhode Island, so in the Northeast, and I said, let me Google, go chat GBT, Google. So I Google. I put in Dave, D-A-V-E, and the first thing pops up, and I said, Dave came up as number 2. And the first search came back was Dave's Hot Chicken in Saugus, Massachusetts.
I have never had that chicken.
I said, one, is there any affiliation? And 2, it's got to be great goddamn chicken.
Yeah, I didn't know I was beat by Dave's Hot Chicken, but what are you going to do? I thought that's pretty good to be number 2 for Dave.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
Oh, yeah. I got to see what the haters are saying. I got to be on top of how I'm getting dragged at any particular moment.
Is that come with the territory? Just getting dragged and a little bit of smirch?
It's all different types of drags. Like last time I was in the stadium, I was dragged to jail in the bottom of it because I was watching the Pats win the Super Bowl. So it's good memories. I've been dragged every which way.
Just NFL, the challenge of the NFL happened once or twice?
I've been put in handcuffs twice by the NFL. Once I was protesting Deflategate. So we went to NFL headquarters and handcuffed ourselves to each other to protest and ended up in jail. And then here, Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, they told me, and to be honest, I'm still banned from the stadium. I have a 10-year ban. They're like, don't say anything until you're done with the speech. But yeah, so Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, they didn't want me here. I showed up. I'm a Patriot fan. And at halftime, they put me in handcuffs and put me in jail at the bottom of the stadium.
Huge Patriot fan, so you missed the game? No TV, I take it.
No TV in jail. I could hear the crowd noise. It was a very low-scoring game, that game, so not a lot happened. But I could hear the crowd noise, and I didn't know who was winning anything. They took me in cuffs, walked me about half a mile outside the stadium. I didn't have my phone, and then I just ran to a bar to get an update, and Patriots were up, I think, 10-3 at the time. So it was a good night. I'd trade jail for a Super Bowl. That's an easy trade.
You and Goodell share a beer or high noon or anything like that?
I have not seen Roger, never talked to him. I don't know if things have cooled, but no, I've never met him.
No. I was thinking about the interview, and I said I was kind of lining it up with the NBA Finals. Boston fan.
Huge Celtics. I'm all Boston fan. Yep.
I'm a huge Celtics fan. I am a Dolphin fan, not a Patriot fan, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But and I said, you know what? If this lines up right, the team that we have, we could kind of talk about the game tonight.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we got taken out by the Knicks.
Yeah, that was sad. I was actually looking when this thing was discussed. They fired their coach. You guys have the best season you've had in 100 years, and you fire the coach. It's a weird way to say thank you. Anyways, when I agreed to this, cocky, I was actually looking at the final schedule. Be like, we may be playing this night. Yeah, bad injuries, but can't win it every year.
Was it injuries? Wait a minute. First of all, after the Knicks loss, kind of a redemption, right? It's kind of like I saw you say, "Bing bong, Knicks are dead."
I'm just watching the games.
So, let's actually, change that over to like a business mindset. So you're talking about the Celtics, superior team, and you had said the Knicks should celebrate beating the Celtics, second round win, inferior team. Is that the way you look at business as well? Like small wins, right? That's a small win. Like they know who they are. They're not the superior team, and that happens in business. You're not the giant, right?
I think for sure. You got to celebrate and kind of enjoy as much out every day as that you can get. You know, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in business, sports, whatever. You should celebrate and enjoy when things go well. I know we have at Barstool, and there's good and the bad, and try to make maybe light of the bad and have fun with the good.
And what about the reverse Celtics? I think, you know, in game 1 and 2, I think they underestimated the Knicks and came out and went against their game plan. Is that, on the reverse side, is that something that, you know, you should look at?
Well, they had a huge lead, if we're being honest, and I don't know what the hell happened in the last 5 minutes of each game. But if you can't beat the Knicks, you're not going to win the championship. So they're not ready. This wasn't their year. Right. But yeah, you can't. I mean, Barstool's been around a long time now, relatively speaking, and you really can't take your foot off the pedal. Like, you got to keep your eye on the ball. I know that's like super cliche, but I think in media, which is what we are, if somebody gave me a compliment, probably the nicest thing you could say to me about Barstool is that we've been relevant and kind of cutting edge for 20 years. Really hard to do as a media company when everything's changing. Like when we started, you know, Facebook didn't exist. There's no Instagram, there's no TikTok. So the cultural landscape and how people communicate, really, it changes on a dime. And we've been good at adapting and staying focused and not kind of resting on our laurels, which is maybe what the Celtics did a little bit.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
You shoot 63s, that's kind of...
Yeah, they got a little maybe complacent.
A little ahead of themselves, yeah.
And hurt. And
hurt. Injuries. Injuries don't help. You know, our star player, too.
Yeah.
What does the future look like for us?
For the Celtics, great. We still have all our guys. Porzingis probably gone. But, you know, Tatum and Brown are locked up, and it's the best 1-2 punch in the game when they're both healthy.
Agree. Sorry to be so selfish about that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know NBA talk, but I'm fine with it.
These guys, but that. Let's go back. I just want to talk to you a little bit about your upbringing. Maybe there's a blueprint behind Dave Portnoy. You know, what happened as a kid as far as your coming up Swampscott, Massachusetts? All right. Wealthy, middle class?
Middle class.
Middle class?
Yep. Like my mom was a teacher. Dad's an attorney. Both work full time. Very middle class. Swampscott's a very middle class town.
Any business ventures from your parents?
No, they were more on the conservative side, like very much 9-to-5 type people.
The edginess you got. Dad, mom?
I wouldn't say that's dad, mom. I'd say that's Northeast.
Northeast, absolutely.
That's like Boston, Philly, New York. Yeah, it's like the way I talk now here on my website, Twitter. That's how my friends and I talk to each other. There weren't many compliments thrown around. You know, it's like a very cutting, insulting Northeast vibe.
Yeah, I think that's what the Northeast is, just honest.
Yeah.
You would talk about what you're wearing, talk about your hair, but they're boys.
We're talking insults.
Absolutely. Sports fan, where'd that come about? Were you an athlete when you were younger?
Yeah, I'd like to say I was. I mean, I wasn't going pro or nothing, but I played sports growing up, played throughout high school, didn't play in college, and always loved it. I mean, I was a sports guy. I love watching, you know, all the Boston sports teams. Right. My dad's a big sports guy. I became a sports guy. It's always what I was interested in.
Then high school, you said ended sports at high school. You're off to University of Michigan.
Yep, went to Michigan. My sister was a senior when I was a freshman. So I visited her throughout high school. And probably like any kid, if you see a college like this, cool. And I thought I could play a sport there. I didn't make the baseball team. I tried out.
Tried out?
Yeah, I did try out. I didn't make it. So that's where I landed.
You was there when Brady was there?
I was. Classmates.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did you know Brady?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
Classmates.
No.
Didn't talk to anyone.
No, I heard he was like the nicest guy. And then he was very good at Michigan. Ended up obviously going to the Patriots. Lived in my hometown when he first went there. But actually, when Brady was at Michigan, they had another kid, Drew Henson.
I remember Drew Henson.
He was like the #1 recruit in the country. It's very difficult for Brady to get playing time, anything really. He was kind of an overlooked guy when he was at Michigan.
Best ever?
Oh, that's without doubt.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
Well,
Dan Marino?
all 0 rings.
Touche. Well, let me ask you this, though. The guy wrote the book, Dan Marino, right? 16 years.
Great player.
Great player. You know, Brady, 23 years, broke his records, obviously, but there was a 7-year difference in the time that they played. So shouldn't that be considered in the calculation the greatest of all time?
Well,
I understand championship's important, but...
We're in a business sense. Like if you have a top sales guy who threw up these great numbers and your company's going bankrupt. What does that do for you? Like the goal is to win.
But you need a defense to win.
Yeah.
It's tough to come back. That's tough. That's a tough one to come back. So you graduate from Michigan.
Yeah.
What do you get a degree?
So I actually, the Michigan story is a little strange. I applied to Michigan and got a rejection letter, and it said you'd make a great nurse. So if you want to come to our nursing school, you can do it.
You applied for?
No, I applied to liberal arts.
Right.
But they said, no, you're not getting in for liberal arts. We think you'd make a great nurse. I pass out at the sight of blood, so I don't know where they got that. But I talked to my sister. I said, hey, I got into the nursing school. If I go as a nurse, can I transfer into the liberal arts? She's like, once you're in, they don't care. You can move around. So I just snaked it till I made it at Michigan. I was in education because I went to liberal arts. I couldn't pass my language degree. I said, oh, the education school, you don't need to pass language. So I went to education. So I was just moving in, just how do I get out of this school with a degree? It was just what I did. I graduated when the economy was very good, strong. And I got a sales job. And that...
Was your mom happy that you got an education degree? Because she was a teacher.
I think she knew I wasn't really set on education. She knew I couldn't pass Spanish 1. So I think probably a lot of people like me when I graduated. My real skills were maybe being able to talk to people,
right.
Sales. So it's like, oh, this guy's going to sales, and the economy was great. So I did a sales job at a company called Yankee Group, which sold like consulting and research services for about 5 or 6 years out of college. And that was really my only job before I started Barstool.
Really? How long was you there?
Yankee Group?
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. At what point did you start to think like...
I always wanted to try my own thing.
Right.
A major thing happened for me. So when I said the economy was great, it was when I graduated. Then the dot-com boom kind of happened and people were losing their jobs. I remember going to Yankee Group one day and I was still young and like half the senior executives got fired.
Really?
Like, and they had been there a long time. And that was eye-opening. I was still young, didn't have any responsibility. I'm like, if I can avoid being in a situation where my fate isn't necessarily in my hands, I want to do that. I want to try to find something. I was making good money. If I can make less money, but like work harder and know I don't go in and my boss can't fire me unseen,
right.
I'm going to really strive or fight to get that type of life.
How many years in before you started contemplating like this? I need to make a move.
I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was probably, if I was at Yankee Group 5, 7 years, probably the last year or two, I was kind of plotting my next move.
Was that your first venture, thinking about Barstools? I know you had this website, thegamblingman.com.
That was college.
Was that a business or?
I was trying to make it. This was early .com. Again, this went before it blew up. In college, I had a website called gamblingman.com where I'd give out picks and you get fireworks, and I didn't know what it would be, a newsletter. I did that in college. Stopped once I graduated college, and then got the normal job out of college.
Was you a successful gambler? You said you was giving away picks?
Oh, no. Anybody who tells you they're a successful gambler is lying. Like the house always wins, always.
Was you giving out bad advice then?
Well, I give my real advice. I bet my own money and I lose a lot more than I win. I may have beaten the house because we sold our company to a gambling company. That's how I made my money. But that is a 1 in a billion. The common gambler betting on sports, going to the casino, you should do it as entertainment. Like, you're not going to make money doing that in the long run. No,
I'm actually a sports gambler myself. I enjoy it. Not to the degree I know you put some big bets in there, but
I love it, but
it's entertaining. My brother-in-law used to say, inside the game or the game behind the game, it's exhilarating.
It's putting like I like to say, it's putting like hot fudge on a sundae. For me, it makes something that's already really good even better.
Absolutely. So talk about the time when now you're at the Yankee Group and it said, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm going to go all in. What did it look like? What was the risk at that point?
You know, at that point, I would say the risk wasn't crazy high because I was like 25, 26. I didn't have a ton of responsibility. I saved up a decent amount of money at Yankee Group. And in I was willing. I always knew I could get another job.
Right.
So the risk wasn't, I didn't have a family, I didn't have kids. I felt like it was the right time to go out and try to make something happen. And I was willing to work really hard for it. But I don't want to sit here, I'm not going to lie and say I risked it all, because I didn't really have anything to risk at that point.
Right. But a lot of times when you try to go on your own is that doubt, right? Was there any doubt, or you just kind
Oh, there's always going to be doubt. Probably, Barstool barely made money, barely enough to live for probably 10 years.
Really?
5 or 6 years in, at the time I was married, and we had no money, like none. So I did get another job, and I went in for the morning. Lunchtime, I quit and never came back on day one, because I knew I couldn't give Barstool a fair shake and have a 9 to 5. So, and I always thought with Barstool, now it's the only thing I've ever launched and it worked. That doesn't mean I'm a genius, but it also means I may not realize if something's not working. I always thought it was growing. Right. In my heart, I'm like, I have something here. I have something here. I may not have the financial results. I may not have the proof, but in my gut, if 2 people were like, hey, Dave, one day, the next day, like 4 people were like, oh, I read Barstool. The next day, 8. It just felt like it was growing, yeah. But there's always doubt. It's like, how long am I going to stick with this? Living in my in-laws' house, not being able to afford, a hamburger, like those thoughts creep into your head. I'm obviously happy I stuck with it.
Yeah, how long did you moonlight on Barstools before you said, I need to put 100% of my focus back on Barstools?
Half a day. Like it was lunch at that one job. And other than that, it was like, I didn't take a vacation day for 10 years. Really? I was working Monday through Sunday, 10 hours a day minimum. Like sports never ended. I felt like I had to be on all the time. It was just a nonstop grind. And I don't say that to be like, oh, poor me. I loved it. Like for what I was doing, I would have taken that 100 out of 100 times, making 50, 60 grand a year, and like excited to wake up. And I actually, during that time, I didn't care if it was Saturday or Tuesday. Right. Like I enjoyed what I was doing. And that was a degree of success enough for me.
Is that the motivation? Because you enjoy what you do? A lot of people say, if you enjoy what you do, you never spend a day work.
That's a very true statement. And I think, 80%, that's a rough guess, don't like their jobs when they wake up and, they dread the alarm clock on Monday morning. That was my motivation. I didn't want to hate waking up in the morning. It wasn't money. It wasn't like fame. I never thought like people know who I was. It was truly to wake up and enjoy what I was doing. If I could get that and put food on the table, I would have been happy.
All right. You never had a fear in betting on yourself. And I know a lot of audience are on that cutting edge where they think about, should I go out on my own? We had an audience full of mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers, and loan officers, and they're on a commission, right? They work for someone else. And there's that nervousness of, should I take my own skills and not be on payroll and go do my own thing? What's your advice to someone who's in that safe space where they're like, what, should I go? Should I not go?
I'd always say go. That's my personality. I think if it doesn't work, you can always go back to what you were doing before and always get a job if you believe in yourself. But I have something in me, and if I didn't give it the try, if I wasn't like, I have to see if I can do it, it probably would have been a regret of mine forever. So I would always say, go in eyes wide open, like you're going to work your ass off. Yeah. You're going to work harder for yourself than you do for a boss, but it's going to be so much more gratifying. So I would always err on the side of believe in yourself, bet on yourself.
So early on, you got a 4-page newsletter that's out. You're trying to make it happen. What does that, you said you had a lot of sacrifices. You didn't take any days off. What does that grind look like on a daily basis? What do you do to initiate that initial surge of business?
So we were a newspaper when we started. So I would basically put the newspaper together. I had a couple, after a few weeks, like guest writers, but it was basically me. I put all the ads together, sales, writing. We'd print the newspaper. I bought a Astro van off Craigslist for $1,800. I'd go to the factory. I'd pick up all the papers. I'd do a 48-hour paper route. driving around Boston, putting the papers in like the news racks for free. Then I would wake up around 5 a.m., go to the subway stations, hand the newspaper out to people walking by me, like screaming at them, like, take this newspaper. I'd be fighting versus the other vendors.
Was it receptive?
Yeah, I get some people. That's actually how we became a website, because a guy that I was handing the newspaper to was moving to New York. He's like, I love this newspaper. I'm going to New York. I want to read it. If I build you a website, will you put the newspaper on there? Like, if you're going to do that for free, I'll absolutely do it. That's how our website got born.
Really?
So again, not something I thought about, a lucky break, but a lucky break through hustling my ass off. I still go to a Celtics game now. I'll see ticket scalpers who remember standing next to me like 20 years ago. They're like, Dave, congrats for your success, because I was there. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I'd be there at 4 p.m. for the evening commute, rotating around. In between, I'd sell ads, write the newspaper, drop it off. So it was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
That's important to tell, because I think a lot of people see the success, right? They never see that grind, that what's behind the scenes, how you got to where you are. I don't think it's really appreciated unless you actually advertise it. And I know you don't brag about what you do, but it's amazing that you got 5 a.m. passing out newspapers. Is it true that you had some help from homeless people that were?
Week 1, to hand out the newspaper, I had no money. I mean, outside of what I cobbled together to save, there was a company called Labor Ready, which basically gives homeless people work. So I'm like, well, we're going to put these people to work cheaply, and they'll hand out my newspaper outside subway stations when we launched. Not the type of work I was looking for. These guys showed up drunk, like throwing papers in the trash in the river. I'm like, what is going on? I've paid all this money. So it was a one-day experiment. We had these t-shirts that were white, red lettering, said Barstool Sports, and I gave them all. I took as many back, and we started selling those t-shirts in the newspaper instantly. I'm like, I'm stuck with these ugly t-shirts. They're literally called ugly shirts. And I keep saying, hey, we sold 4 this week. We sold 8 the next week. We sold 20. We sold 100. Merch, selling merch, that's what got us through probably the early years to break even. It all started, again, not on purpose, by me being stuck with these t-shirts from the homeless workers who worked as though they were happy with being homeless.
Really? So you raised a lot of capital for merchandise and not just advertising.
Yeah. We depended on our readership, and I still depend on our readership. They became very loyal. They followed the journey throughout, and they were always there to support us. So if we did an event in Boston, there's a place called Game On right outside of Fenway. We do a trivia event, and we could get 500 people to show up, and much bigger companies could not do that.
Right.
Those 500 were all 500 of our readers. And I would be like, if you don't show up, lights may not come on next week. Like, I need you here playing trivia, buying beer on this night so we can survive. And we just grew this very loyal, connected audience. And in the early days, I always said Barstool was like the little engine that could. It's like, some people didn't know who we were, but we could deliver results for our clients, advertisers, because we had a very active, loyal, real fan base. And that's been a big thread throughout Barstool.
Really?
It's sometimes gone as trouble, sometimes helped, but they've always kind of had my back.
So early on, what would you say? Obsession or ambition? A little bit of both.
I could sit here and pretend that I get the total difference between those two words, but I guess I don't. Like, I was obsessed, and it was more the obsession to work for myself. Right. It wasn't like ambition where I want to be sitting on stage speaking with people and like giving business advice. It was, I want to work for myself. Yeah.
You get obsessed with the fact that I want to
create the life I want.
Right.
Yes.
All right. At what point do you start to see the fruits of your labor, where you start to see the revenue come in and make some money, when you say, thank God I'm not out there beating the pavement anymore?
Yeah. I'd say 2010. So it started in 2004. 2010, we did a concert tour called Stoolapalooza. And this was the first time we were ever outside of Metro Boston. And we did a little music thing where we were supposed to go to like frat basements. And we had a guy, Sam Adams, who was kind of blowing up in Boston, musician. And we booked, all right, we'll go to a bunch of frats, little bars around like UMass, URI, Northeast colleges. Yep. So UMass, their gym, their auditorium is called the Mullins Center. And they called me and they said, hey, we're getting all these calls about this Stoolapalooza event. What is it? And I'm like, oh, we're just going to a frat down the street. It's not anything big. And they said, we're getting so many calls. Would you throw this concert in our auditorium? It's not as big as this venue, but it's a big college venue. I'm like, I can't afford that. And they said, well, what if we take the risk away from you? We're pretty confident by how many people are calling that we can do something. So they made a deal that I could work by. We sold, I think, 5,000 seats in a minute on like the floor, sold it out. That was the moment where it's like, I think there's something bigger than what I realized happening here. And really from then on, now there's been a couple touch and go moments, but from then on, I'm like, I think I'm not going to have to go back to the 9-to-5 life.
Oh, good. No, that's unbelievable. And then as you evolved, the company got bigger and bigger, the following got bigger and bigger, the stoolies start to, the merchandise is going up. And then you get a proposal from the Chernin Group. How did that initiate the first sale?
Yeah. So the Chernin Group, this is 2016. Barstool was chugging along. Like I was making more money than I dreamed doing it. I knew that we had a very large, very loyal audience. And there's a guy, Mike Kearns, who used to work for Yahoo Sports. And he actually pitched to Yahoo, hey, you guys should look at buying Barstool. They took one look. They're like, are you kidding? It's too edgy, too risky, too whatever. Yahoo brand, not going to work. He got hired by a company, the Chernin Group. Day one, he called me and he said, would you ever sell or take investment? I said, I have some ideas. He goes, well, can I meet with you? He was in San Francisco. I was in Boston. He was in Boston by noon the next day. To me, a very obvious sign of real interest. I've had so many people who say they're interested and then they don't have the bet. It's just a waste of time. So I sat with him and he basically was like, if we invested in Barstool, what would you do? And I said, I'd like to create kind of a 24/7 blog reality type show. And that was the birth of when we all moved to New York. So our valuation at that point was $12.5 million. That's what we sold it for. They bought 51%. I think I got taken for a ride with that deal in hindsight, but Chernin was a great partner for us. They brought credibility.
Now you get a lot of cash.
Well, yeah, now things have, so then we sold Barstool again, 2020 for $650 million. And then I bought it back for $1.
That was Penn, right?
Yeah, Penn bought it for $650 million. It's not all mine because I had already sold 51%. I already given all my original guys equity. But everybody who worked for me in that original Milton office all became millionaires, which is quite the feeling. Like we're sitting around a dentist's office, honestly having no fucking clue what we're doing. Sorry, I swear. And like we all became wealthier than our wildest dreams and something we truly love doing.
Well, these loyal guys from the beginning that you actually...
Yeah, they're still with me.
Really?
Yeah, which I like to say, for anybody out there, people say a lot of things, good, bad. It's like our staff is all still basically there, unless people have gone and gotten the bag other places, like a McAfee, Alex Cooper, Bussin' with the Boys. You know, we've had big stars come through our doors, and really the only reason they leave is somebody pays them a ton of money, which I golf clap for them. Like, good for you. I wish you were with us, but I'm not going to begrudge somebody getting a bag.
But so you develop a lot of talent, right? You put your resources behind it, you finance it, and maybe they have, they're talented individuals by nature. But your platform, your finances bring them to the next level. That doesn't bother you at all? They actually go out and get the bag somewhere else?
No, it's like a record label model in a sense. Like, we have wins, we have losses. It would bother, like, we make money off them when we're there. And when someone signs up, new talent, the first thing I generally say to them is, hey, look at our track record. Look at Alex Cooper. She got 70 million from Spotify from nothing when she came to us. Look at McAfee. He's made hundreds of millions. No one else would hire him. Look at Bussin' with the Boys. They just got 30 million. They had nothing. Right. Caleb Presley. I pitch that. I say, $1 million worth of games, same deal. Look at how much money they've made. They sign a contract like an athlete,
Right.
and we have the option. If after 3 years we can pay them, great, they'll stay. But if someone's going to offer double, good for them. That is our market. And then we got to find the next talent and come up, and that's what makes a good organization.
So you actually sell it to bring in new talent, because in our industry here, in the mortgage industry, it's the same thing. We have a lot of big organizations. Sometimes we call them the big 5, the big 6, and they groom individuals, come into it green, they teach them, they put resources behind them, and then there's an opportunity for them. Maybe it's a real transient industry where they go somewhere else. So you're saying use that as a selling tool to bring in new talent.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's almost a Saturday Night Live model, excuse me. Like, Saturday Night Live a lot of times gets unknown comedians, and by the time they're out of there, they're gigantic stars. Maybe not as much nowadays, but when I was growing up, it certainly was the case.
Right.
It's a selling point. And when Chernin invested in me and they asked, what do you want? What would be a sign of success? One of my answers was, when a new college graduate or an upcoming comedian, the first place they're like, I want to go to Barstool because I know they give me freedom, resources, and I can become a star. That, it helps them and it helps us recruit new talent.
So really quick, so you sold it. I want to go back really quick. So I read that you sold it in February of 23, August of 23, you bought it back for $1.
Yeah. DDTG Global. I'm a little bit of trading. I'm a stock trader, so that's the greatest trade ever made. A lot of things happened there. We had a good relationship with Penn. Penn wanted to get in the ESPN business. We're really not an ESPN company. And I think we had a good relationship. We were getting a lot. Gambling is regulated by the states. And there's not much oversight in terms of, like, you can have two people making the decisions. Somebody doesn't like me, somebody doesn't like Barstool. Very tough for Penn to do business. So it just really didn't work. And they thought I was the rightful owner, I would say, for it. So it worked for us. I'm super happy.
Right. So you kind of trailblazer in your space, social media, advertising, marketing, and you really compete against the traditional legacy media, like television stations. They're kind of behind, right? Do you think your model is where?
Well, yeah, we had an advantage in a sense, because I think when you've been a leader in an industry for a long time, like network TV, terrestrial radio, you kind of get set in your ways a little bit, and you may put even blinders on to like what's coming. Barstool, a lot of times I say it's the first true digital media company. Like, our people were born from the internet. They're used to the internet. They know how to use the internet. Old days, network TV, if someone puts someone on network TV, they're almost guaranteed to be a star. There's not many options. You're force-fed to watch it. Right. The internet is the great equalizer. Like, if you have talent and you're funny, like a Drewski, for example, like, he built himself up just straight from the internet, being funnier, working harder. So that's who we have. And I do think it gives us an advantage lots of times versus traditional media.
Interesting. Your company, Barstools, it says it's not just a company, it's a movement. There's tribal loyalty. How do you get that following, that stoolie following, kind of like that?
I think our following is the fact we've been like a 20+ year story now. I've been, I would say, brutally honest, good, bad, flaws, wins, losses. It's just being authentic. Like, we have a video as we speak that's going very viral of me screaming at one of my employees. Like, shut up, you bald fuck. Like, going back and forth. It's like, I'm your boss. Not many companies would put that on the internet and be like, this is us. Like, this is what we do.
Right.
But we do. And like, the guy actually texted me. He's like, by the way, you owe me an apology. I'm not bald. Like, we allow for this. I allow people to yell at me. We can yell back. It's a window into a real company. And we've pulled the curtain back for 20 years and let people see it. And I think they appreciate it. And they may not love it, but it's kept them entertained. And at their core, I think they know who we are. Right. And they're there through the thick and thin.
And they can identify with it, I guess. People like reality, authentic. Oh, I'm sorry.
Being
authentic.
I was once told a story that ESPN had a meeting when we were on the come up, and they're like, who the hell are these guys? And the meeting was about how do we become more authentic? Right. Well, you already lost. Like, that's your meeting?
They're trying to manufacture.
Yeah, right.
You can't manufacture authenticity.
Correct. So, and we have it. And we're us, and we're me, and we let our people be them. And I think it comes across.
Do you ever think you get the Midas touch? I look at some of the things you do. One bite.
No, listen, we've been, in my mind, right place, right time, a lot of different ways. If things broke left or right, I'm probably not sitting here. It's a needle in a haystack, but it's the right person, right people, right time, right place, good people. One bite, we're very good at knowing what hooks. So One Bite started because myself and another employee, Dan Katz, Big Cat, who's big following, we had a debate. If you could eat one food the rest of your life, what would it be? I said pizza. He said burritos. He was going like the breakfast burrito angle. And we did it for a month. So I'm just eating pizza. And people started being like, is it any good? It's like, all right, I'll take one bite and score it. And it hooked. I could just tell people like waiting for it. So after the contest ended, I continued it. I would say it's the number one thing people recognize me now.
I'm not a stool eater. I'm slowly becoming a stool. I started following you. I love what you do. And that's one of the things that stood out, the One Bite. And, you know, do you love pizza? Is that how it started? Or
yeah, I mean, I love pizza. I still love doing the reviews. There's a lot of travel involved in it. We've been able to help a lot of really small businesses. That's one of the top, I'd say, small business and animals. And the military to a degree. Those are like things that I'm very pro and try to support as much as I can. The ability to go into these pizza shops, a lot of times passed down generations or same people working families for 40, 50 years, visit with them, and then help them. Like with a good review, I don't like to fluff up the scores, but it can really change the life cycle of the family, of the business. We do a huge event now in New York. We do like a One Bite Pizza Festival. 10,000 people show up. So it's the combo of all that stuff. I love the pizza. I love the people. So yeah, it's something I would have never planned, but here we are.
New York Times called you one of the most influential people in the world on food and social media.
They probably right after that said I was Hitler. I hate the New York Times. The absolute worst publication I've ever dealt with. I hate them so much. Can you tell? I hate it so much. But I am the most influential pizza critic in the country, probably the world. That's beyond doubt. But they tried that article just at the background. They also tried to call every single pizza place before and get them to cancel coming to the One Bite Pizza Fest. And the pizza places who I'm like friends with are like, fuck you. So
I gotta ask you this. So you do a lot of positive things. I saw the guy in Maryland. You gave him 60,000. You said 60 dimes, little gambling.
Yeah.
Gave him 60 dimes. Guy was elated.
Yep.
Kept the business open. He actually tried to give you free food when you're trying to help him out, which was amazing. Then you had another guy, his business ended up taking off, and he wanted to give you a check back for $2,500 to put towards other businesses. How's that feel?
So that was the Barstool Fund, which during COVID, we raised $50 million for small businesses, and we gave it to them quick because we felt like, thank you. Like as somebody who started a business, I was like, how are these people, if you're right on the cusp and suddenly you can't open your doors, you can't have clients, and I don't know what the government's saying, but we'll give you money in 6 months. 6 months too late.
Right.
Like you have employees. So we basically said, send us a submit letter. As long as you're still paying your employees, tell us what you need. Send us your bills. We would review it. If you got approved, you'd have a check for the next day. It would be in your bank account, and we would pay it, your bills, till you could open up again. So we saved, I think, close to 500 businesses doing it that way. And to your point, and why I love entrepreneurs, small businesses, a bunch of the people we gave money to, once they were back on their feet, repaid it. They're like, give it to the next guy who needs it. So that was it's something, it was great.
So, and then how does a guy like the gentleman from Dragon Pizza not appreciate that?
There's a lot of crazy people, and everyone's there to tell Dragon Pizza that I've said this too. You could Google me And if you want to pick out the bad articles about me, you'd be like, they got the devil on stage right now. Like there's things, and I obviously I don't agree with any of it, and I've tried to combat it. And the people say, sit down, like you're making stuff up about me. But a guy like Dragon Pizza will read a headline and he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And by the way, there's a lot of things you could pick and choose, but he actually said, I hate small business. It's like, I mean, I don't know what to say to you when you say that to me, but.
Well, I know what you say. It was the greatest exchange I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, F you, F you, F you. And then in the Northeast way, you said, your shirt 6 sizes too small.
He was wearing a Star Wars shirt that was way too tight. And that's the thing, I'm a below the belt guy. Like, people are, oh, he went below the belt. Yeah, no shit. Where have you been paying attention for like the last 20 years? I won't do it unprovoked, but I will do it. It's like the exchange I got the other day. There's no need to call Kirk a bald asshole, but we're in a fight and that's where I go.
Couple more things. The golf tournament. Another unorthodox experience coming this summer.
Yeah, so we're doing what we call the Internet Invitational. That'll be August at Big Cedar Point in the Ozarks. We're putting together all the YouTube creator, golf people, and there's going to be at least $1 million prize pool, ratchet up, different handicaps. It's one of those things. There are a lot of creator classics for golf. I think ours will be more if you're playing golf with your buddy and you're talking shit and trying to get in his head. So we'll see how it goes. And like anything, we've done a lot of things that have not worked. And this hopefully isn't one of them, but we're willing to try anything.
How big will it get?
I think this could be huge, but it's not really my world, to be honest, because I'm not that big of a golfer, but I know there's an appetite for it.
What's the biggest misconception about Dave Portnoy?
That I'm a jerk. Like, I hear a lot of things said about me. They never come from anybody who knows me. They never interview people who work for me. They never, and that has driven me crazy about the media, and I really was unaware of it. But, and it's definitely shaped who I am now. It's just you can't control the narrative. People are going to say what they want to say about me, and they're going to come to their conclusions without ever talking to me or really caring to dig into it. And that's part of the thing. I've thought about it a lot, actually, lately, because a lot of things go on in the world. But I think it comes with a degree of success. Like, you can't have it all be like roses all the time. And I have thick skin, so I can take it. But, I'm not an asshole.
I agree.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe somebody may say that.
You give away money, you help the businesses, you can't be an asshole. Right?
I'm a blunt Northeastern guy.
I think it's misconstrued.
Sorry.
Yeah. Has your why changed now? You've had a lot of success as far as business is concerned. Has your why changed?
Has my what?
Your why. Like, why do you go to work every day? Or what drives you?
Yeah, this is going to sound stupid, but when I got the company back for $1, that was really to help save my employees. A lot of them are total morons. It's like, they've been with me for 20 years. And it's like, where are they going to go if Barstool doesn't exist? And at the time, like, I've made more money than I ever dreamed of. So money doesn't motivate me. Having a company where my people enjoy waking up and feel like it's a good spot to be means a lot now, and it's 20 years. So that was kind of what motivated me to keep the company going or still be involved.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I don't care about legacy. I could care. I that sounds cliche. I don't care.
That's what Tyson said too.
Yeah. To the little girl? Yeah, that was an all-time interview. Yeah. That was one of the funniest quotes Tyson ever had. Who cares? We all die, right? Isn't that what he said? I care what people who know me think about me. If I value your opinion, I care what you think. But most people don't really know me, and they're going to say what they're going to say.
I appreciate you. Dave Portnoy, give it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Bo.